Hello, how you doing? And welcome back to the channel. So South Africa against Australia in Pretoria this weekend kicks off the Rugby Championship. That's what I'm previewing in this video. An interesting game for both teams. The start of the Eddie Jones era for Australia and the Springboks with this kind of split squad with maybe just half an eye on the match coming in a week's time against New Zealand as well. So lots to get into in this video. Make sure you drop a comment down below and give me your views on this game, how you see it going, and any of the talking points that I touch upon in the video, and just your own views more generally. And also, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel as well, it's always a massive, massive help to keep it growing. But let's get into it. So as I say, I think there's quite a few different things, different points of interest to get into in this video. Any of you that have watched some before on the channel will know that I'm not going to cover everything. I'm not going to go through each squad name by name and talk about... I basically just talk about the points that when I looked at the two teams and when I look at this match, the things that sprung out to me and that I think are interesting. So if there's something that I haven't covered, drop it in the comment section down below. First of all, just with the Springboks, start with them as the home team. This whole split squad thing, which most of you I'm sure would have seen by now, but they've sent some guys early to New Zealand. They've flown them out already in hoping that they will be over by the jet lag and can really hit the ground running, I suppose, in terms of their preparations for week 2, whilst the rest of the squad play this game against Australia. And I personally don't have any real issue with it for two reasons, really. Number one, they've done this before. Last summer against Wales, they rotated their squad heavily for the second test. Wales went on to win it, and then the Springboks, in a much stronger team, won the third test. So in terms of rotation, in terms of a World Cup year, I don't have a huge issue because I still think that the squad that they have picked is a pretty strong one. I mean, what is it? 500, 550 international caps overall. Still guys that have been there and done it before, with some others that are probably looking to gain experience, maybe ahead of the World Cup or just early in their international career. So personally, I don't have a massive issue with it. Having said that, I do think, although Australia are probably underdogs, it just opens the door a little bit for them. I don't think there's any arguing that Australia will have a better chance of getting a result because of that rotation, but overall, I've got no issue with it. So in terms of the Springbok squad, I'll whack it up on screen. As I say, it's still a strong side. You know, you look at the front row, it's very, very strong. I think the back row is interesting. The Wallabies in their pre-game press conference were asked about the back row and whether it wasn't quite as mobile as some other options, what it might do to that contest on the floor. So it's something worth keeping an eye on. But overall, as I say, I still think, I mean, you look at it and it's a team packed full of quality. There were two main areas that I wanted to speak about, though, in terms of individual players within this Springbok team. The first is Jean Klein, because he obviously has previously played for Ireland because of the change in eligibility rules, and the stand-down period means that he is able to switch allegiance back to South Africa, his country of birth. And I was really intrigued to get all your views on this. And first of all, I should say I've got no issue with the player or what he's done in terms of going over to Ireland and getting an opportunity to play international rugby. It's a no-brainer if you think that that opportunity isn't about to come in your homeland, because it means you're worth more money when it comes to contract negotiations. It gives you the opportunity to play international rugby. It benefits your career in so many ways. And now he switched allegiance back to South Africa, but he was asked in his press conference, and I'm paraphrasing what he said here, but he ultimately said he didn't grow up dreaming of wearing Paul O'Connell's jersey for Ireland. He grew up dreaming of wearing Bakkies Botha's jersey for the Springboks. And he said it was a huge honour to play for Ireland as well. He wasn't being disrespectful in trying to say that. So as I've said already, I don't have an issue with the player. He is simply abiding by the legislation and rules that are in place. But for me, almost as a fan, there's something that doesn't quite feel right about it, and I don't have a solution for that. It is what it is. It's how the game has set up. But I think it's almost a shame when someone has played international rugby and they haven't dreamed of wearing that jersey, and they're maybe taking that jersey away from someone else. And look, I know lots of other countries and other players from other countries do it. It's nothing about him or the Springboks or the teams he's represented. I think it's more just an issue I have more widely with the game. I've probably feel most passionately about it actually when it comes to the Lions test jersey actually, and when you maybe see some players who would have grown up supporting teams that play against the Lions and then they end up playing for the Lions, and what a special jersey that is. So I don't know, do you understand where I'm coming from with those comments? Let me know down below, or is it just one of those things? As I've reiterated now, this is probably about the third time, no issue with Jean Klein, no issue with the fact that he's now switched back, but more just something generally doesn't feel right about that. What I will say on him, though, is there are a lot of Ireland fans who are hoping he would be selected in the Ireland team for the World Cup because he's been that good for Munster. So in terms of how he's going to go, really, really intrigued, adding more strength in depth to that second row position for the Springboks. They're going to be pretty stacked there, I think. But overall, interested to see how he goes. The one other player I wanted to mention is someone I've probably spoken about quite a lot on the channel, and that's Nienaber, who, look, watching his pre-match press conference, seems like a really humble guy, seems like a great guy. But it's a big opportunity for him because for the last 12 months or so, there's been an uncertainty over who would be the starting fly half for the Springboks at the World Cup, because for a long time, Andre Pollard's form wasn't great at all. It took him a while to bed in at Leicester Tigers, but then when he did, he's been really, really effective, and obviously now has an injury, so Libbok has the opportunity in this test at altitude against an Australia side that we're maybe a little bit uncertain with. I'm no doubt that they will try and target him and get him off his game. So how he goes in terms of pulling the strings in a World Cup year and putting himself forward to either be the starter or even the understudy, and a capable understudy if Pollard isn't fully fit for the Rugby World Cup. I'm really intrigued to see how he goes. But as I've said already, it's still a Springbok team that, yeah, I don't know, looks pretty strong to me. Let's get on to the Wallabies, though. Again, I'll put them up on screen and I'll pick out two names because, again, there are probably two things that really interest me in terms of team selection. Well, actually, no, there were more than two, but there was two I really wanted to speak about. I will mention quickly Suliasi Vunivalu on the wing. Pretty contentious selection, looking at the response of a lot of Wallabies fans with that in terms of how he goes. They have some pretty good options there, but he gets the nod. But I wanted to mention Quade Cooper at 10 because the halfbacks and the fly half position for Australia has been one of uncertainty for a while now. I think Dave Rennie couldn't quite choose who his number one option was. He brought back Bernard Foley, and you wondered if he might be the guy to take them forward. He's gone with Quade Cooper at altitude, away from home, start of the Rugby Championship. I think that's a really fascinating selection by Eddie Jones, and to see how Quade Cooper goes. A guy now who is incredibly experienced in his career, playing his rugby in Japan. In fact, Eddie Jones got asked actually in the press conference of Quade Cooper has a pretty zen approach to things now. I think his mentality as a player has really developed over his career. But in terms of marshalling this new look Australia side, I think he's got a huge responsibility for. The one other player I wanted to mention was Reece Hodge at 12, because Samu Kerevi, as you will see there, is amongst the replacements. Eddie Jones has basically explained that by saying that Kerevi, because he had an injury previously, hasn't had a huge amount of training under his belt. He hasn't been back for a huge amount of time, so he's an option coming off the bench. And also, with the game at altitude, I just wonder whether Hodge gives you that kicking option at 12. He's going to be sending some cannons up into the sky if he gets the opportunity, whether in terms of the tactical battle of the game. That's another reason for his inclusion. But overall with that Australia squad, actually, the thing that I came away thinking, even though there's 4 debutants in the match day 23, we can talk about Tom Hooper, who has kind of come out of nowhere, relatively speaking, to start for the Wallabies. I know, pretty excited to see how he goes. There are different things we can speak about there in terms of team selection, but the thing I'm most interested in isn't necessarily the individual players, it is the style of play for Australia. And it's something I mentioned in my preview video for the Rugby Championship I did the other day. Eddie Jones asked just before they left to fly out to South Africa, basically said they want to pass shorter and run straighter. And I think that is an indication of the confrontational, perhaps more simple game plan that Australia are going to want to implement. They're going to try and be in their faces, be physical, and earn the right to move wide rather than going there earlier in their attacks, which is maybe something he's identified they were guilty of doing under previous regimes. So Australia and under Eddie Jones, can he have the kind of impact he had with England, where he took them when they were at their lowest after getting knocked out of the group stage of their own World Cup in 2015, and a year later won the Six Nations with them, went to Australia, won 3-0. Can he have anywhere close to that sort of impact? Because Australia have been in the doldrums, really, relatively speaking. Their win percentage, their consistency has been all over the place for quite a long period of time. Will he bring a stability back? I think they've got an opportunity. Because the fact that South Africa, even though they've got a strong squad, have rotated, I think the door is just slightly ajar for Australia to make a statement here. I don't think it's going to be easy. If I was a betting man, my money would go on the Springboks, but I think this could be a really good game to kick off the Rugby Championship. You let me know who you think is going to win in the comments down below. Any other points as well, drop them down below. Enjoy the rugby this weekend, enjoy this game. I will, when I get round to it, when I get round to watching it, we'll be doing a review of it. So look forward to that one. Look forward to reading your comments. Like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.